Come at the king, you better not miss. You understand that? Welcome right back to Spin Rack. I'm here with the crew, PD and Cal. What's rocking, everybody? Today we're talking about that insidious crime that we heard about on TV the other day. Something from the
we're talking about Hellboy. The Hellboy is in the background. We're not talking about any other thing besides the new Hellboy trailer. That's well, it doesn't have the backing of Ron Perlman or obviously Guillermo del Toro, but it has the backing of the creator.
Of
in
course.
Hollywood, the creator doesn't matter, as you see.
Yep. It's an exciting Hellboy trailer. It looks good. It looks great. The question is,
do we care?
Exactly.
I care.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I'm a big Mike Mignola fan, big Hellboy fan. I've collected the series. It's now the Hellboy character is back in the BRPD, so it's like, but they're saying it's coming to a close as far as here. But Mignola never really ends it. He always talks about ending it, and he somehow brings the character back, and it's a fun character. So, and he's had fun in his two movies, and it's weird because the second movie I don't like as much as the first, but it's visually strong. It's very visually strong. I was watching it while I was at work. We were at lunch, and it was in front of us this big table, like big screen, and we were like saying, you know, got these cheesy moments where Hellboy's carrying the baby and whatnot and jumping from building to building, but still the monsters and whatnot, real visual. So it's a strong character, a fun character. I don't like when they play too much to him being a sort of like the monster that people like cringe at, when in the comic books he goes into churches, he's friends with priests, that sort of thing. So he's a good guy. You know, he's a basic thing of where someone come from a different world and raised as a human. And he fights the people, basically almost fights most of his relatives, because he goes out there, they tell him what he is, and he goes, bashes them in the head with the right hand of doom. So
almost like Superman, who comes out here and then he fights back against some of his same people.
No, he fights against the bad guys. And not there. He doesn't fight.
As much as I don't like what you said, it's a solid analogy for the most part. Superman has to fight against his own. He has to fight against his own race half the time.
But the question here that we have to look at, I saw the trailer. The trailer looks solid. It looks exciting. It looks great. But in this day and age where you have Marvel dominating like 70% of the market, and you have DC coming up a hard second with like 40% of the market, you know, is there any room for Hellboy? The last two times this movie came out, the first one made, $99 million worldwide?
In the time it came out. For the time that it came out.
And the second movie came out, made about $160 million. I mean, right now, those movies relative to what a Marvel movie does...
Say what you said again, Pete?
Okay?
I'm saying for the time it came out.
The second movie, what did you say?
The second one underperformed.
It did? It made more money?
It
made a little bit. It cost them a lot more and didn't...
I enjoyed the second one more than I enjoyed the first one. But I didn't see either one in the theaters. I got to see everything on my phone.
So the question is whether or not
we all go out there and support.
The question is whether this movie is going to do anything. Look, I support Ron Perlman, Mignola.
No, you can't. No, Ron Perlman is not.
What does Ron Perlman have to do with anything?
He is the Hellboy.
No, he isn't
he was the actor who played Hellboy twice.
Yes.
That's it.
So who's playing him now?
The actor from the Stranger Things. The lead from the cop from Stranger Things is now Hellboy.
Okay.
Ron Perlman has been the most vocal, saying, "I'm not involved because Guillermo del Toro is not in the movie," which is like...
And they're not paying me enough money. Because if they were paying me enough money, I would say, Guillermo, I love you, man, but I got these bills to pay.
But for the fans, they're hearing this and they're hearing, like Guillermo is the creator when the actual creator has been involved. And he, Mignola did want to try to see if they could work out doing something, but obviously Guillermo did the Abe Sapien character on his own. He pulled the Hellboy character who was in the two movies and did The Shape of Water.
Yes, yes.
So it's kind of like you're going against the creator when he's like snatching characters. You know what? And I want to do an Abe Sapien movie, but then let's play with it and make it very ground level. So it's kind of, and he gets an award for it. He came home with the awards for that one.
He got an award for that, Scott?
Yeah, okay. I don't know. So look, right now the question is, this movie was dropping in May, right? Right after Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, and right before Homecoming, Spider-Man.
Could be a Jumanji. It could be a Jumanji.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because last year we had the same thing where they dropped the Han Solo right in between the the Wonder Woman and the Avengers movie, and
No,
it got slammed.
Because
You know what I'm trying to say?
Star Wars had the fatigue because people didn't like the
Last Jedi was a very profitable movie. I agree. There was
Yeah.
problems with Last
And
Jedi,
they-
but it was a very profitable
And they
movie.
blocked a lot of theaters.
That's-
So the only thing that was out was Jumanji, and that killed while
You had all of that
This one's in
steam
there.
from Star Wars, and then you pretty much put it you pretty much threw cold water on the whole thing. So when Han Solo comes out, it's the recipient of all the cold water at the end of the day.
I mean, I think it's the wrong time. They should have come out in December like all the other Star Wars films. It would have been a consistent theory. But look, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Hellboy.
Yes, we
Whether or not
are.
this is going to hit it
Yes.
off, and I'm
This
not
is
sure
yes.
about it.
Spin the rack out.
So I'm not real sure. Cal, you have anything to put? To add
I'm
to
for
that?
the people. I'm speaking for the people like myself who look. Do you even care that this film is coming out? Okay, I saw the first two Hellboy films. I was okay. When I heard this one was coming out, I was asking myself, why is this film coming out? Especially since it has no connection to the other films. And then you have the little bit of you got the little bit of bickering there. But for me, the big shoulder shrugger is, why should I go and see this movie at this particular time, especially with everything else that's being offered? That's the bigger thing for me. If you like Hellboy, if you're a fan of Mignola, if you were a fan of the previous films, that could definitely put you in the seat. But, I mean, I hate to agree with it, but you've got Captain Marvel, you've got Shazam, you've got Avengers. Why do you want to come out and see this movie? Now, that being said, and I said this before, if Aquaman is doing $1 billion, then that means right now audiences have an incredibly healthy appetite for these type of films, okay, for superhero-centric films. So it could literally just ride the wave right now. I mean, I can't even call it a wave at this point. It's more like a milieu at the end of the day, and it could just, be one of these films that's offered up, and as long as it's solid, it'll make money at the end of the day. So I really don't know how it's going to perform at the end of the day. You've got two different things going on, and whichever one takes precedent, that's pretty much going to be the fate of the film. If nobody cares, which is always the case, then it's just going to sit there and it'll do poorly. But if the mood of people is like, hey, another superhero film, yeah, sure, the last one was good. Why don't we go see what this one has to offer? It could simply just be one of these films in the moment, like westerns, and it just rides along with everybody else.
So I'm just saying, my sell is there's a ton of incredible stories that he's done with a bunch of creators, and some of that is seeping into this movie. And I think a lot of the good seeped into the first two Hellboy movies. Yes, it's a little different, but then we have him. There's some things that I can't spoil that's going to come out in this that you'll be like, oh, it's connected to that. Hellboy has this stuff connected to him, and stuff that both of you guys probably know very well as far as historical sense, not just hell, but there's some character. Because basically, Hellboy is the story of this woman who's I think she's in a monastery and gets, has this past with the leader of hell, like the largest character in there. But she gives up her way, but then basically they try to chain her coffin to keep the character from getting her. But he still gets her, and he says, we're going to have this son, my favorite son. And when the son comes, he's not what he seems. And that's one of the power things. But then Mignola's reveal who that woman actually is, who has a connection to all this history. So without spoiling it, it's history that these guys, because they're very much history buff and fantasy buffs. So this is right in line with that, because Mignola and Neil Gaiman have the same books in their house, but the only thing that Mignola has a little more Kirby, and that's why we get all this action. So there's stuff in there for you guys, so check it out.
That's a good sell. Nice going, P. Nice catch up. I like that. Listen, we support. Go out there and check it out. We're all comic book people. We're all for that. Okay? Spin a rack. Out.